Hola amigos, hi everyone, hi dear friends, bienvenidos a una nueva sesión de preguntas y respuestas. Welcome to a new session where you can ask us anything. Here we are very happy to be here, to be back after a short break. Estamos contentos, felices de estar aquí nuevamente. Estoy con David, pero antes de presentar a David, before introducing David, I would like to say hola desde Berlin. Hi from Berlin. It's very late here. It's 7 p.m., but I'm always happy to be late here online with you. Hi, David. How are you?
Hola a todos y a todas. Hi, everyone. Estoy muy bien. Estoy un poco descansado, a little bit tired, but aren't we all these days? Estoy aquí en Brooklyn, New York. I'm here in Brooklyn, donde vivo, where I live. Como David dijo, yo estoy muy contento de estar aquí con ustedes. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Hicimos una pausa la semana pasada. We did a little break last week, but we are back now and excited to share some new lesson topics with you, answer your questions as always. This is one of my favorite parts of the week and I always look forward to it. So I'm very glad to be back. Well, David, do you think we should go ahead and get started?
I think that's a good idea, David. And what about starting with a short review of what we saw last time? 2 weeks ago, we learned how to use the future forms in Spanish, and we learned that there are two ways to build it, to use it in Spanish, and they are equally useful and they are interchangeable. And we had a sentence. We had a like homework for today, and we'd like to have a look at it before moving on to the topic that we prepared for you for today. So we had this sentence that we are gonna display here on the screen, which was this one. So we would like to know what you are going to do on Thanksgiving and how can we ask this in Spanish. So here we have the question tú qué, and then here we have the blank for the gap for the verb, el día de acción de gracias. So tú qué, el día de acción de gracias, and we have the verb in brackets, hacer. So the idea is that we come up here with the solution, and we'd like to hear from you what you think we should put here in the blank. So
keep in mind that there are two possible answers. If you're not sure about which one is correct, maybe go with the other one. But yes, David, you did a great job explaining. 2 weeks ago when we talked about the future, how to talk about the future tense, we gave you these two different options for talking about the future. One of them I find a little bit easier just because it doesn't require remembering new endings for verbs. So I'm curious to see what people put this time around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm already seeing some answers. Mm-hmm. They are great because this is what actually counts when learning a language. Of course, there are many rules, there are many exceptions as well, but the idea is that we ask and say something in Spanish. So you are doing a great job here, and let's keep this very, very short. So I do see here a correct answer. ¿Tú qué vas a hacer el día de acción de gracias? Tessa, this is right answer. And for all of you who suggested vas a hacer. That's correct. So let's remember that this future form is equal to is going to in English. So it's a very useful way to build the future tense in Spanish. So, ¿tú qué vas a hacer el día de Acción de Gracias? And don't forget to put the the linking word, the little word between both verbs. So we conjugate only the first one, ir, and this changes to vas a. ¿Tú qué vas a hacer el día de Acción de Gracias? That's great. But David, here we have a tricky thing, and I think we are mean, really, really mean.
We are very mean. We usually try not to give trick questions. This time, I think we couldn't resist. And I think most people chose vas a hacer, so it didn't even matter. But so I see Janice has written two potential options, vas a hacer or hacerás. And that is what you would say if, for the second option, if the verb hacer were regular. So we actually didn't touch much on this last week. I don't think we even mentioned the verb hacer specifically, but we did mention a couple verbs that take an irregular stem form before you add the endings for the future tense. We know that for most verbs that are regular, which is a vast majority of them in Spanish, we have these endings that we add to Spanish verbs in the infinitive form. So if you take a verb like caminar, to walk, tú caminarás, you will walk. But we do have these irregular verbs, like I just said, and that includes hacer. So instead of adding an ending just exactly attached to the end of hacer, we have to actually use a different stem form of the verb, and that is ar. So it's the same thing that you saw with poner y tú pones, you put, and in the future, tú pondrás, you will put. Tú tienes, you have, tú tendrás, you will have. So hacer becomes tú harás. Yo haré, I will do or I will make. Tú harás, you will make or you will do. So this is something we didn't actually teach you last week or 2 weeks ago, so there's no way you were expected to know this. But it's something to keep in mind. There are a handful of verbs that are irregular in the future tense in Spanish, and hacer is one of them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and they are usually always the same, not only in the future, but also in the imperative form, as we saw also some weeks ago. So let's keep these verbs in mind. This is just a very short list between 8 and 12 verbs that are also very useful. And let's remember always how irregular these verbs are. So in this case, we can also ask, ¿tú qué harás el día de Acción de Gracias? We just attach the ending corresponding to the simple form of the future to the irregular stem. So hacer becomes ar. Why that? It is due to some evolution in the language. So when you attach the ending as if this verb was irregular, it would sound like hacerá, hacerá, hacerás, haceré. So in colloquial speech, these forms were reduced to are, haré, harás, haré, hará, haremos, just because it's easier to pronounce, and this became a rule in Spanish. But it just affects this very short list of verbs. And in this case, since we have a second option that's totally correct, we just want to encourage you to use this complex form ir a plus verb in the case you are not sure about the regular or irregular verb in the future, in the simple future. So this we didn't want to be mean. It is just that a proof for you to see that if you don't know the right form, you can also come up with a different strategy, with a different solution. And ¿tú qué vas a hacer el día de Acción de Gracias? Is perfect. That's also correct. So we have also a quick review of those verbs that are irregular in the different tenses and in the different moods. So don't worry, we'll help you also out with this overview of these verbs. But for the time being, let's keep in mind that we have also this second option when talking about the future. So this took a bit longer, David, but maybe we can also move on to the next topic that we prepared for today, which is the word que in Spanish. The word que in Spanish that we spell Q-U-E, it's a very important word, and we are gonna see today why we need that word. So que has two functions in Spanish. Sorry, two functions, not three. And let's start with the first one, which serves as a bridge, as a reference to connect two sentences by having one word in common. So que works as a relative pronoun. What does this mean? This means that we have a sentence like esta es la casa que yo compré hace 2 años. This is the house that I bought 2 years ago. So in this case, we have two sentences. Esta es la casa. Easy. This is the house. Then we use that in English to actually say, I bought that house 2 years ago. But we don't repeat house in English. So we don't either in Spanish. In that case, we use the word que. Esta es la casa que yo compré hace 2 años. So que means la casa. It's the same, exactly the same. But we use that word in order to avoid repetition of the reference. So this is connecting two different sentences with the same word in common, which is casa in this case. David, I'm posting here the next sentence. Can you tell us about it?
Yes, we have the sentence, aquí está la llave que estás buscando, which would translate to, here is the key that you are looking for. So again, we kind of see that the word que stands in for the word la llave, the key. We know that aquí está la llave is a sentence by itself, here is the key. But then when we say estás buscando, we want to know what is it we're looking for? What is the object of the verb buscando? And we know it's still the key. So we're referring to the same idea, the same noun, the same object. And that object is la llave. So we use the word que. If all this talk of referring to the same noun is a little bit tricky for you, just think about in English, it's pretty much the same structure. We can see that the word que stands in for the word that in sentences like, here is the key that you are looking for. So we're explaining it in a little bit of a grammatical way, but it doesn't have to be as confusing as it sounds. It's kind of just, you're linking two sentences, like David said, that refer to the same thing, and the que kind of stands in for that thing. One thing I wanted to mention about this sentence and the one before, and I believe the next one will show, is that there are two sentences that are linked by the word que. So we have aquí está la llave, that's one sentence. And then we have the sentence estás buscando, which means you are looking for. But the sentence estás buscando by itself doesn't really stand alone by itself. You would need to have some sort of object. So if you say to someone estás buscando, well, they might be like, well, yo estoy buscando que, I'm looking for what? So in this case, we know that the word que is used as a relative pronoun because it refers back to something that we mentioned in the previous part of the sentence, la llave. So these two sentences, one of them we'll call the independent clause, the main clause, aquí está la llave, that could stand by itself. Here is the key. We don't need any more information. But if you say estás buscando, you need to kind of specify what you're referring to, and that is the key as well. Same thing with the sentence here, esta es la casa que yo compré hace 2 años. If we say esta es la casa, that's a great sentence by itself. It stands alone. But if we say yo compré hace 2 años, I bought 2 years ago. Well, what did you buy 2 years ago? Oh, la casa. Esta es la casa que yo compré hace 2 años.
Yeah. That's correct, David. That's great. Yeah. So as you said, the second part, the part that is being introduced with the word que, uh, this is dependent. It depends on what we have in the beginning. Let's have a look at another example where we are not referring to things but to people, actually. And let's look at what happens here. Ella es la persona, she's the person que me ayudó la semana pasada. Who helped me last week, or that helped me last week. So in this case, we have two options in English, and I would use who helped me last week. But in Spanish, we can use que as well. In this specific context, in this specific case, to link both sentences. So in the first part, ella es la persona, she's the person. That's perfect. So we can just say that, and that makes sense in Spanish. The second part, que me ayudó la semana pasada, depends on the first part. So this is the relative clause, que me ayudó la semana pasada. And in this case, you see that la persona, the person in the first sentence, is also the noun in the second sentence, and it has the role of the subject. So this person helped me last week. That's why we can use que. It is just because in the second sentence, this reference is the subject. But let's keep these complicated rules for later. This is just to reflect on how useful it is when we know the word que and how to use this. But we want to stress something here. Today we are talking about que without an accent mark, which means, in this case, that. Whereas que with an accent mark means something different. This means what? So please keep this in mind because it's very, very important to remember these differences, especially when it comes to these question words. So let's keep in mind that is que without accent mark, and what, the question word that we use in Spanish as well to ask questions, needs an accent mark. So, and I see a question here. Isn't this supposed to be quien? It is referring to a person. So if we go back to the sentence, ella es la persona quien me ayudó la semana pasada. I would say that doesn't sound natural to me and to any Spanish speaker. And I know we are talking here about people, but when using quien, that literally means who, as it is in English. I would say this is influenced by English somehow, and we would be using quien in very, very specific little cases. I'm not. I don't have any sentences back in my head right now. But since today we are talking about the word que, I can assure that this is completely correct. Ella es la persona que me ayudó la semana pasada. So I hope this is all clear, because this was a little introduction on the word que, and we just introduced the first use case. David, we have another use case of this word, and this is very, very important because this is, let's say, the first step to what we are going to learn in the future, which is subjuntivo. So let's pay attention to that, because we will notice a small difference. So we use que in those last three sentences to connect two parts of a sentence that share something in common, which is a noun. So as you see in the first example, we had la casa and que. So we had a word, a noun with an article, la casa, and then que. We had then la llave, que. And in the third example, we had la persona que. So we always had a noun, a person, an animal, or an object. But we can also use que to link two sentences without any reference. And this is how, this is the way we are going to use it. So David, I'm posting here the first sentence. What can you tell us about it?
Okay, so let's take it piece by piece. We see a sentence like, yo sé la respuesta. I know the answer. We know that sé is the yo form in the present tense of saber, to know, facts, information, answers, in this case. So yo sé la respuesta. And then we also have a sentence that says, yo sé que estás ahí. I know that you are there. So the word que is also serving as the word that, which we saw in the earlier sentences, but it takes on a little bit of a different use case here because it is introducing another sentence that kind of is now embedded within the first sentence. And what I mean by that is you see in the first sentence, yo sé la respuesta, that we have a subject, yo, a verb, sé, and then an object, la respuesta. I know something. I know the answer. The second sentence, yo sé que estás ahí. I know something. What is it? What is it that I know? What is the object of the verb saber? It's the fact that you are here. It is that, or there, I'm sorry, that you are there. I know that you are there. I know the answer. I know the truth. I know that you like donuts. So anything can fill in for the object here because it starts with this little magical word K that we see all the time. And another important note is that these two sentences actually kind of do stand by themselves where they didn't before. So you could say, yo sé, actually, I'm gonna scrap what I was gonna say about that because it can be a little bit confusing. But the sentence "yo sé," blah blah blah, requires an object, and in this case, there's a separate sentence "estás ahí," you are there, that serves as the object of that sentence. So it's kind of like a tiered system. You have this overarching clause or sentence, "yo sé something." And then the something is this other, what we'd call subordinate clause that kind of fits into it. I know that you are here. But we have to start it out with the word que, that.
Yeah, that's correct. So the whole second part, que estás ahí, can be just replaced with something. I know something. What is that something? That you are there. Cool. So I think this is clearer when we look at this sentence, at more example sentences. So, vemos las estrellas. We see the stars. We see something. But we can see something, and this something can also be a whole sentence. And this whole sentence is embedded in the first one. So, vemos que necesitas ayuda can be translated into English with we see that you need help. So that you need help, that sentence is something. So we see something. We see that you need help. So basically the idea is that we see that the whole sentence that is being introduced with that is actually a whole part of a sentence that is above, which is we see. We see something, we see the stars, and this works also the same way as in the first example sentence. Yo sé la respuesta, yo sé que estás ahí. And we had, we brought up also a third example sentence just to picture this better, because the more examples we get, the easier it is also for us to understand what we are talking about. So, David, here we have this sentence.
Yeah, pienso que tu propuesta es una buena idea. I think that your proposal is a good idea. So if we say pienso, I mean, by itself, that doesn't mean much. It means I think. But when you say I think, you have to say what is it that you think. So in this case, the object of the verb pensar, or yo pienso something, is this entire sentence that your proposal is a good idea. So here we see que kind of functioning the same way. It means that, and it introduces another sentence of its own that has its own subject, its own verb. Tu propuesta is the subject, your proposal. Es is the verb, is. But this sentence we see is kind of embedded or nested inside the greater sentence, pienso que something. So same sort of use case here. One thing that, David, I think it's important to mention is that in English, we could drop this word que and it would sound fine. We could say, I think your proposal is a good idea. We don't need to say that. But in Spanish, it's necessary, it's required that we have this word que. Yo pienso que tu propuesta es una buena idea. We cannot say, pienso tu propuesta es una buena idea. That is not grammatically correct. And as we talk about the subjunctive, which David mentioned a few minutes ago, something we'll talk about in future episodes, we have to use this word que to introduce the subjunctive, and we can't drop it. We can't forget it. It's extremely important. So that is one distinction between English and Spanish that really matters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very important. So we can't drop that word in Spanish. We need que after saying pienso, creo, quiero, que, etc. But yeah, I think we can look at this sentence. This is the last one. María cree que estamos viajando. María believes that we are traveling. María cree que estamos viajando. María cree algo. So in this case, that algo, something, is que estamos viajando, the whole sentence. So I think this is a clear difference between the first use case that we saw when que works as a relative clause to introduce a relative clause, and here we see that que is linking two sentences and introducing the second sentence as a little part of the sentence that is above in the hierarchy. And David, I see here some questions. Maybe we should answer them one by one. And I would like to start with this. What Meg is asking here is, que could mean that or than. And you are right. Que can be used also for comparative statements when we compare two things. I can say, soy más alto que mi hermano. I'm taller than my brother. So in that case, we will also use que. This is a very, very functional word in Spanish, and you're right that this can also mean than. So today we are introducing que actually to link two sentences. And we get a deeper look at this when we learn more about comparative and superlative. But yeah, that's correct. And I see here another question, David. How about lo que? Yeah, so in Spanish we have question marks, as there are also some in English, like what, who, how, where, when. In Spanish we also have them. And we use them also to come up with indirect questions. So for example, I didn't understand what you said. So this is an indirect question. And in this case, I would address a question or an indirect question. In Spanish, I would say, no entiendo lo que dices. I don't understand what you are saying. No entiendo lo que dices. So in that case, we are using lo que as a connection, as a word, actually, to connect an indirect question with something else, which is no entiendo. I don't understand something. I don't understand what you are saying. What are you saying? So these indirect questions can be turned into questions, into real questions. So we are going to address this topic in one of our future episodes, because I think it's important to see that question words are not only used in real questions, but also in indirect questions. And we are going to learn more about que, lo que, because I think that's very important. In this case, we're just using an article, a neutral article, lo, to link an indirect question, lo que. But there is more to come in one of our next episodes on this topic.
Dana asked really quickly, like in this example, loque, I don't understand it that you were saying. That is a great way to think about it. I think about it, loque, as that which. So maybe it sounds a little weird in English, but I don't understand that which you are saying, or eso es lo que yo estaba diciéndote, that that is that which I was telling you. That is, in Dana's example, that is it that I was telling you, that is the thing that I was telling you. Or no comprendo lo que me dices, I don't understand that which you were saying to me, that which you're telling me. So there isn't necessarily a great direct translation into English, but like David explained, it kind of stands in as a loque, is like a neutral way to say what, as an indirect form of a question. I don't understand what you are saying. I don't understand the thing that you were saying. I don't understand that which you are saying.
Yeah, I think we can learn more on this topic, not only with lo que and what, but also with other question words, because this is something very useful. And we'll see also that these sentences, these indirect questions, are also introduced with these question marks, with accent marks, actually. So I think this is a topic that we can cover in one of our next episodes. It's very relevant, and this will help us also understand the difference between que and que with and without an accent mark. So yeah, I think we have here another question. What about tengo que? I have to. Yes, Carol. So que is very, very functional. In this case, we are just using a word like que to help a verb become a modal verb, which is when I use tengo que, I expect another action. And this is the main action. Tengo que trabajar mañana. So trabajar is the main action. And there is something related to work in that sentence. So tengo que is expressing I have to. So this is I have no other choice. So in this case, tengo que, this is a fixed expression. This is like a fixed verb in Spanish. The same way as we use it in English with tu. So why tu and not that? When I learn I have to, that is equal to tengo que in Spanish. But in that case, we are using que with a different function. As we are learning today, que is linking sentences, complete sentences, like yo veo que estás ocupado. I see that you are busy. Or este es el coche que compré la semana pasada. This is the car that I bought last week. So in those use cases that we presented today, we are talking about sentences. And in this case, in this verb, tengo que, we are talking about tengo que trabajar, that's I have to work, just one sentence. But que can be seen in many different sentences with different functions, and que is as important as another little word that we learned some weeks ago, which is se. So I think this is something that we learn on the way. Sometimes it's just very difficult to connect que with only one translation in English. As we saw, que can mean than, that, what, who in English. So yeah, but we stick today with que when linking to sentences. So I think that's a good explanation. And Mary is saying something that I think it's very important. Que tenga un buen día. Yes, that's the que that we saw today, the second use case, because in this sentence, we are wishing something. I'm wishing you have a lovely day. But this is a shortened version, so that you have a lovely day. This is a way for us in Spanish to wish someone a great day. And we learn more on this topic later when we learn more about the subjuntivo, because in this case we use the subjuntivo. Mm-hmm.
So, David, is it time for some challenge questions?
Yes, I think so. So this time we have a sentence, and what we would like you to do is to tell us whether the que is referring to the first use case, where it connects a common noun into different sentences, or whether que is connecting two clauses. So let's make this. Let's do this exercise. Ella me ha dicho que ustedes pueden ayudarme. She has told me that you can help me. Ella me ha dicho que ustedes pueden ayudarme. Is this que a relative pronoun, or is this que connecting to independent clauses? What do you think? So you can type in A for the first option, que as a relative pronoun, or B, que connecting to sentences. So what's the right option? Is it A or is it B?
This looks very good. Most people are chiming in with some good answers. I see almost everyone has gotten it right at this point. Let's go ahead and display Shannon's answer. She says B. That's correct. So between A and B, B is the one that says that K is connecting two clauses, and that is the right answer. So we have ella me ha dicho, she has told me, but when we say that, you have to follow she has told me with something. Ella me ha dicho algo. What has she told me? She's told me something, and that something is that you all can help me. Ella me ha dicho que ustedes pueden ayudarme. Mm-hmm. And the sentence, ustedes pueden ayudarme, stands by its own, but we see that it's now embedded within the first sentence. So it's now the object of that first sentence. She has told me what? She has told me that you all can help me. So here K is connecting two clauses.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Yeah, so Rita, the sentence means she's told me that you all can help me. Good. So we didn't add here any translations to the sentences because the translations would show the right answer. So let's try to understand the sentence without a translation to see whether we understand it through the context, which is also a great activity to do when learning languages. So the second sentence is, yo sé la verdad que tú estás escondiendo. So if you don't know the verb esconder, it means to hide. So you are hiding something. And here the question is again, whether que is a relative pronoun, A or B, que is connecting to clauses. So yo sé la verdad. La verdad means the truth. La verdad que tú estás escondiendo. Actually, que is connecting to sentences in both cases. But what we mean with a is that que is referring to a something in common between both sentences, which is yo sé la verdad and tú estás escondiendo algo. So, and here we see most answers telling A is the right option. So, yes, Carlene, and everyone who got A is the right option. A is acting as a relative pronoun here because first, que is following a noun, and we can identify that noun through the article, la. So it has a gender, and it is in singular, and it's the truth. So I know the truth that you are hiding. I know, yo sé la verdad que tú estás escondiendo. So the second sentence could be, tú estás escondiendo la verdad. So what we are basically doing here with que is avoiding this repetition. So we have two sentences, yo sé la verdad and tú estás escondiendo la verdad. And that's how we can link both of them. Yo sé la verdad que tú estás escondiendo. So in this case, the right answer is A. Que is a relative pronoun. Well done. Great job to everyone. I mean, we are not here to make you learn these concepts. Que, relative pronouns, que connecting to clauses, and so on. But these concepts help us understand different aspects of the language. But of course, we know that we don't use them in our daily life communications, conversations with friends. It's just about understanding what we are talking about today.
Okay, then we have one last sentence that we'll leave you for next time. And then next week we'll check back in, as we always do, and talk about this challenge sentence. But we say, eso que dijiste es verdad. And just like the first two, we're asking how we're using que here. Is it a relative pronoun, or is it connecting two clauses, or setting up a clause that is embedded in the first clause for choice B? So if you don't recognize this word dijiste, that is one of the past tense forms of the verb decir, to tell. So it means you told. And then we see the word verdad, the truth, again. So eso que dijiste es verdad. Is that que being used as a relative pronoun or to connect two clauses? Okay, so we will review this next week, but in the meantime, it's about that time of the hour to start wrapping up. So David, I know it's late there in Berlin, and I want to make sure you get some time to have a night that is not filled with work. So we'll start to say goodbye, and until next week, we'll be back at the same time, Tuesday, October 27th, I believe, at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And in the meantime, stay in touch with us on Facebook, here on this page, on our other social media channels at Babel USA, on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We have a Quora space, which is very full of life and bustling at the moment, so feel free to check it out. It's called Everything Language, and we put the link right there. We also have Babel Magazine, which is a great online hub for all sorts of articles about language learning, whether it's Spanish or other languages you want to learn. And I think that is it. We also have a Google Doc that we've been updating every week with the example sentences that we've shown on the screen. So if you want a refresher or a review about what we talked about, feel free to check that out. And you can also look at every single video from the past lessons. I think this is our 24th. So we have a whole library of them on YouTube on our channel, which we will post the link to, and then also on this Facebook page as well. So thank you so much for tuning in this week. So much fun to do this every week and to see the same faces over and over, and new faces, of course. We love your questions. I know David and I love to plan these sessions because it's always such a treat David, I will pass it off to you if I have nothing else to say. So
No, that was all. Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone, for your attention, for your questions, for your patience. It's not easy to sit here to be with us during 48 minutes, but it's a pleasure for us. I don't mind staying until late to facilitate this session to meet you all. So let's keep in touch. Please check out the document with all the sentences and the explanations that we post here on the screen. And let's collect questions for next Tuesday, same time, same channel. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your days. Stay healthy. See you next Tuesday. Hasta el martes.
Adios.